Welcome back to Foeko. Fairy tales like Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and Little Red Riding Hood are some of the first stories many children are told, full of magical goings-on, wicked stepmothers, love stories, and the triumph of good over evil. They have captivated imaginations for centuries. These stories allow us to explore the furthest reaches of our imaginations. But the real versions of the Disney fairy tales are a little different from the Disney movies, and even the tales that we commonly hear. So in this video, we're going to talk about the real stories and origins behind famous Disney movies. The video is going to be amazing, so make sure you stick to the end. But before starting the video, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to never miss out on any of our videos. Cinderella. If you thought the stepsisters in the Disney flick were bad, think again. In the original stories by the Grimm brothers, the sisters are so desperate to fit into the glass slipper so that they can marry the prince that one cuts off a toe and the other slices off pieces of her heel. Also, Cinderella has to do a lot to get noticed by the prince. Homegirl went to the ball 3 nights in a row. Each time she wore an even more extravagant gown than the last one. And instead of a fairy godmother, there is a bird in a tree above her grandmother's grave who grants her wishes. Sleeping Beauty. Disney's Sleeping Beauty is a classic tale of a princess in distress and the prince who comes gallantly to her rescue. The original 17th century Italian tale has similar beginnings. The princess, named Talia, pricked her finger on a spindle and was sent into a deep sleep, fulfilling an earlier prophecy. The rest of Talia's story is too gruesome to be a children's tale. The man who came to Talia's rescue is a king, not a prince. The king's kiss did not awake Talia. He instead gathers the fruits of her love, which is a nicer way of saying that he raped her while she slept. 9 months later, she gave birth to twins, and one of them sucked the splinter from her finger, waking her up. Talia and the king fall in love, but the king is still married. His queen orders the twins to be kidnapped, cooked, and fed to the unknowing king. Luckily, she fails. The moral of this story was, lucky people, so 'tis said, are blessed by fortune whilst in bed. Snow White. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was Disney's first animated feature film and has become an undisputed classic since its release in 1937. The film is a fairly faithful retelling of the fairy tale that appears in the Brothers Grimm collection, with one exception. While the film ends with the prince awakening Snow White with a kiss and taking her to his castle, the original story sees the evil queen attend the subsequent wedding where she is recognized by the prince and made to dance, quite literally until she drops, in a pair of red-hot iron slippers. Ouch. Beauty and the Beast. The Disney adaptation of the classic French fairy tale about inner beauty is also a version that doesn't stray too far from the original. Both versions have roses playing an important role, a cursed prince who must find love as a beast, and a beautiful girl unaware of her looks and only interested in books. In the original fairy tale, the beast releases a homesick beauty to go visit her family on the condition she returns in a week. When her sisters hear of this, they display some sisterly love and try to get her to stay in the hope that an angry beast would eat her alive upon her return. The Frog King. The Princess and the Frog, the original Grimm fairy tale, is unfortunately far less sentimental and romantic than its modern adaptations. Where modern versions claim that the spell is broken by the kiss of the princess, the reality is that the prince's transformation was occasioned by the spoilt and petulant princess flinging the unassuming frog against the wall in anger and disgust. Other versions of the story even claim that instead of a kiss or a throw, the frog spent one night sleeping peacefully on the pillow of the princess with her very reluctant agreement, and this apparently was sufficient to break the spell of its frog-like form. Tangled. The origin of Disney Tangled, i.e. Rapunzel, has been toned down over the ages for children. Brothers Grimm's Rapunzel, the captive of a witch, held in a tall tower, gets pregnant after she invites a prince to her tower. When she innocently remarks that her clothes feel tight around her belly, the angry witch chops off her hair and sends her off to a far-off place where she soon begs to feed her children, while the prince, who is lured with the cut-off locks, is thrown off the tower and is blinded by thorny bushes. But after wandering around, living off grass and leaves, he finally finds his family. The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid trades her voice for legs in order to win the prince's heart and live happily ever after. So goes Disney's rendition of this tale. The original version, by Hans Christian Andersen, is not quite as cheery. While the trade with the sea witch still occurs, the penalty for failure isn't just turning back into a mermaid, it's death. Every step she takes makes her feel like she's walking on daggers, but she still dances for the prince and soon becomes his favorite companion. So a happily ever after then? Not quite. The prince ends up marrying another girl who he mistakenly believes was the one to save him from the shipwreck. Before the mermaid faces her death penalty though, her sisters sell their hair to bring her a dagger. If she kills the prince, his dripping blood will cause her feet to become fins again. But in the end, she can't bring herself to do it, so she jumps off the ship where the wedding was held and turns into sea foam. Hansel and Gretel. A terrifying story of cannibalism and child abuse, which thankfully ends happily for the protagonists. This tale of the Brothers Grimm also has all the elements of an exciting adventure for children, including gingerbread houses and talking geese and hidden treasure, as well as being a tale of a man being forced to abandon his children at the command of his manipulative wife. The details of Hansel and Gretel's captivity at the hands of the witch, Hansel using the bone of a previous victim to trick his captor, for example, and Gretel eventually shoving the witch into an oven, are as alarming as they are compelling. Some of these events are still present in sanitized versions, but many omit the more grisly details involving the children's escape from the gingerbread house. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. The Hunchback of Notre Dame is one of Disney's darker films. Like the novel it's based on, the movie is about a hunchback named Quasimodo, who grew up in the Notre Dame Cathedral, raised by an archdemon named Froyo. Quasimodo and Froyo both fell in love with the same woman, Esmeralda. At the end of the film, Quasimodo pushed Froyo, the villain, off the roof of the cathedral, killing him. It's already uncharacteristically morbid for Disney, but the original novel by Victor Hugo has an even worse ending for protagonists. In Hugo's story, Froyo framed Esmeralda for attempted murder, and she was sentenced to be hanged. Quasimodo still pushed Froyo off a roof, but it was because Froyo was laughing at Esmeralda's hanging. Quasi then goes to Esmeralda's grave and refuses to leave her, so he ultimately dies of starvation there. Hugo's book did not end happily for anyone. The men who turned these gruesome old tales into popular family-friendly stories were the Brothers Grimm, and although their fairy tales have also now been augmented and reimagined, their legacy lives on to this day. Let us know your opinion in the comments section below. This was all for today. Hope you liked the video. Do not forget to subscribe to Foeko. Stay safe and we will be back soon with another video.